Applying the OPT model, Part 6, Chapter 12. OPT is an easy-to-use system of periodization that can be used to create programs for athletes to meet their various goals. While the understanding of these concepts is paramount, what matters the most is the ability to apply information in multiple situations to a variety of athletes. There may be athletes who need to focus on one performance component throughout the training year in order to address a deficiency. Some athletes may need to regress to a previous stage following injury or the identification of a new deficiency. Other athletes may benefit most from a well-rounded, holistic training plan that integrates exercise design, stimulate adaptations, components, stimulations. A skilled sports performance professional will make individual decisions based on need and readiness. Linear periodization is characterized by an initial high volume and low intensity form of training, with decrease in volume and increase in intensity gradually, usually over a period of months. If the sports performance professional progressed their athlete through the OPT model from 1 to 6 without interruption, this would be linear periodization. Straight through. The athlete would progress from high volume and low intensity to higher intensities and lower volumes. The athlete would also progress through all adaptations while maintaining adaptation received in earlier levels of the OPT model. This would require 6 months of uninterrupted training, as each phase lasts at least 4 weeks. For athletes, this is not always feasible. Undulating periodization has been described as more frequent change in volume and intensity, often on a daily or weekly basis. The OPT model can also be applied in this format. By changing the phases weekly or even daily, various adaptations can be achieved and an athlete can move through the various phases. Shorter amount of time. The sports performance professional, however, needs to be very detailed and organized in his or her planning to ensure athlete is still maintaining their adaptations and progressions appropriately. This is an easier way to meet the demands of varying seasons, as well as competition schedules that do not always fall within steady schedule. Block periodization and the OPT model. Block periodization is characterized by a focus of one training adaptation for a given time, usually blocks of 1 month, followed by a large change in acute variables to focus on a different goal. This type of programming is a combination of the linear and undulating periodization. The programming may not always follow a perfect path through the high volume and low intensity to low volume and high intensity, but the blocks would provide a more definite structure around the adaptation focus. Professional may decide that for 1 month, month 1 of training, the athlete needs to focus on phase 1, with phase 2 being the focus for month 2. The professional may need to decide that for 1 month of training, the athlete needs to focus on phase 1, with phase 2 being the focus for month 2. Month 3 may be the focus on phase 4, and month 4 may be the focus of 5. The program returned the athlete made to phase 1, the next 2 months focus on 5 and 6. This is more of an undulated periodization adaptation. The art of periodization. Thoughtful, planned variations in training is the most critical factor in preparing an athlete for their sport. This requires an understanding of the athlete and their sport schedule. The off-season of sports, like baseball, may not allow for enough time to strategically progress through the OPT model in a linear fashion. Therefore, block periodization may be most appropriate. Combat athletes may have 6 months between bouts, allowing them more time to devote to full linear schedule. This may also be seen with athletes who are returning from serious injuries. In-season training will require more of an undulated periodization approach. Sometimes implementing all three approaches for the same athlete will help the athlete meet the training needs. Another aspect of periodization is the alteration of training stress related to competition stress among athletes. It is important that sports performance professionals track, consider, and respond to changes in sports stress, practice sessions, games, tournaments, etc. throughout the year. Additionally, alteration should be made in training stress to avoid overtraining and allow for sufficient recovery. Reduction in exercise volume and perhaps intensity are warranted during periods of elevated competitive stress, and greater rest between workouts will allow for improved recovery and reduce the risk of overtraining during competitive seasons. The professional should work closely with the athlete and coaching staff to avoid overtraining in these situations. Sports performance professional should also be prepared to adjust the training schedule and programming plan to meet the demands of the athlete. For a sports performance professional, it may be easy to develop workouts that will allow athletes to achieve specific adaptations to meet their goals. The art of performance enhancement relies on the ability of the professional to plan and develop a program for athletes while adjusting sports season they are in. Considerations such as athlete playing time, position, acute stress levels, training status, and season schedule will play a role in effective development. Creativity and proper application of evidence-based.